So it looks like more of Steve Harvey's shady past is getting exposed. Steve's own biological son, Wynton, is setting the record straight of what really happened between him and his father. And this situation is all shades of toxic. But why does Steve hate Wynton so much? And why did the police do nothing when the abuse was reported? I know that Steve Harvey has got us all thinking that he is the perfect husband and father for years, but it looks like there are more skeletons in the closet that we know of. Now, I'm not saying that he's the worst father in the world or anything like that, because he does treat them kids nice now, emphasis on now, but Mr. Harvey might have been stretching the truth a little bit. It's not surprising, because you'd be shocked if you knew the truth about your faves, because child, those people be wildin'. Not many people know this, but Steve used to have a really bad relationship with his son Wynton when Wynton was younger, and it started with the way Steve treated his ex-wife Mary, who is Wynton's mom. Steve met Mary when she was working in a cosmetics store, and even though she wasn't interested in pursuing a relationship with him at all, he didn't give up, and she eventually fell for his charms. Now, this was way back in the late 80s, and Steve was already pretty slick back then because he was still legally married to his first wife, Marcia. He didn't mention this to Mary, and she started to date him under the impression that he was a single father of 3 kids. And when she found out that he was still married and she was the other woman, she immediately broke things off with him. Steve cried, begged, did everything men do when they realized how badly they messed up, and Mary ended up taking him back. Now, y'all would think he only went this far and did all that because he really loved Mary and didn't want to lose her, and it probably looked that way to everybody back then, but the way he treated her after that kind of suggested that he didn't really care about her that much and was only with her because she held him down. At the time, Steve was still a struggling comedian and was super broke, but Mary held him down through the hard times, and it was even her idea for him to open up his first comedy club. He couldn't afford it because he was broke AF, so Mary gave him her entire life savings of $250,000 to open the club. She also handled the design and the interiors of the club, so she really put her all into the club. And for a while, things were decent between them. Steve started making some money, they got married in 1996 and had their son Wynton in 1997. Things started to fall apart soon after that because Steve would cheat on Mary every single chance he got. He even had a long-term side piece who had the audacity to call Mary and let her know that she was doing the nasty with Steve. Anywho, they ended up getting a divorce in 2005, and Steve soon started dating Marjorie. Wynton was only 8 years old at the time, and this was when the real drama started because Steve left Mary broke and homeless, even though she was the one who invested in him and held him down when he was broke.
With all the emails and text messages and the different things that I was finding out about, I thought the least that he could do, make me whole at the end of it. He left. He just left, walked out the door. Once he realized that I was going to divorce him, he walked out the door. He had a shoulder bag. He walked out. Went right to New York, to our apartment that we had there, which I never got to see, by the way. And then she joined him there.
The wild part of all this is that he actually met Marjorie in 1987, and he immediately fell in love with her and wanted to pursue a relationship with her, but she was not about that life because he was broke and she didn't want no broke man. Anywho, he and Mary got divorced. He left Mary and Wynton, and word on the streets is that he paid only the barest minimum of child support to Mary because he didn't want Mary to get a single cent of his money. But he had to pay child support because, well, he didn't want a court case on his hands. Mary also had majority custody of Wynton, and Steve had visitation and some weekends. He allegedly didn't put a lot of effort into forming a relationship with Wynton or any one of his older biological kids for that matter, because his first son Broderick revealed that he didn't have a relationship with Steve until he turned 16.
I didn't really have my dad full-time into my life until I was 16. Right?
Not having a relationship with your own child for the first 16 years of their life is just wild, but Steve was not bothered. Oh, and it's not like he could not, he didn't want to, because while he was ignoring Wynton and his other kids, he was playing world's best stepfather to Marjorie's 3 kids that she had from her first 2 marriages. Even though he left Mary broke AF, he provided for every single one of Marjorie's needs as well as that of her kids. And when I tell y'all that they were living in luxury, okay? Apart from the money aspect, there's also the fact that he genuinely cared for her kids as well, because he used to take Marjorie's daughter Lori on frequent daddy-daughter dates.
On one of our annual father-daughter dates to my favorite Japanese restaurant, And you just started talking to me about guys, and you just told me that you know, always supported me and you'd always be there for me no matter what. You loved me unconditionally.
So even if Steve won't be winning Father of the Year, at least he's in the running for Stepfather of the Year, so I guess that has to count for something. Anyways, back to this messy relationship with Wynton. His relationship with Mary was sour, and I guess he kind of took it out on Wynton because he allegedly started to hurt the boy physically. Mary claimed that whenever Wynton would come home from his visitations at Steve and Marjorie's, he would sometimes complain to her about how Steve was allegedly putting hands on him and hitting him. For example, Wynton reported that Steve once hit him so hard on his chest that he had the air knocked out of him. Now, some people might say spanking a child is discipline and all that, and I'm going to leave y'all with that. But I think we all can admit that it's not discipline to hit a child on the chest, and especially not hard enough that they get the air knocked out of them. But that was not the last time, because there was another time when Mary claimed that Wynton came back from Steve's and he was all beaten up. Wynton claimed that Steve had paddled him over some issues at school, and Mary claimed that the boy was bruised and bloody. Things were so severe that the boy could not pee for days. And that just shows how extreme Steve had gotten, because do y'all know how messed up your body has to be for you not to pee for days? Mary did the right thing and called the cops to report the issue. According to news sources, Mary claims Steve got a phone call from the boy's school informing him his son lied about turning in homework. According to the kids, Steve hit him with a belt and then a paddleboard, the kind used for hazing in fraternities. According to the police report, cops took photos of the boy's injuries, showing bruises on his buttocks and right thigh, as well as cuts on his leg. The police report says the boy told the cops the beating was so brutal he had trouble urinating for days. The matter was then referred to the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. The department concluded that based on the information obtained, the child does not appear to be at risk. The case is closed without further investigation. So this was not a case of he said, she said, or a bitter ex-wife trying to cause trouble for her ex-husband and his new wife. There was evidence and pictures that show that Steve really did give Wynton the whooping of his life, but he faced zero repercussions for it because the authorities didn't think the boy was in danger. After that, Steve decided to take things up a notch and he sued for complete custody of Wynton, and he won. It's not surprising that he won because he was a millionaire and could afford the best lawyers while Mary was broke AF. It's a very messed up situation, and people have dragged Steve for this over the years, saying, what could a child do that you beat him so bad that he can't go to the bathroom for 2 weeks? I heard this years ago. This is why Mary didn't want him to have custody of their son, but Steve took him and wouldn't let them have any type of relationship. Never watched his shows or read his books. He is such a hypocrite. Now things are finally coming against him for all his past sins. And I've always thought that there was some kind of friction between Steve and Wynton. I used to watch Steve religiously. Something he said on the show really showed me the real Steve Harvey. As for Mary, she believes Steve and Marjorie kidnapped and brainwashed her son, Wynton, and now they don't really have any relationship.
He took my Wynton from me. He turned my son against me.
But I want to know, what do you guys think about this mess and how Steve has always pretended to be the perfect father for years? Let me know what y'all think in the comments below, and then check out this next video.